The story I'm going to go into today is actually a story that should be shared with you guys on your own tenant. It's actually called the Sample Revenue Analysis, and it's based off an SAP fictional company called the Best Run Juice Company. And I'm just going to use this story in order to emphasize how bookmarks work. Now we're going to enter this story from a product manager perspective. So in order to make this story more adaptable to a product manager, what I'm probably going to want to do is I'm going to want to filter on these input controls, and I'm going to be a product manager just for alcohol in the state of California. And you can see as I edit these filters, it will actually control what we have on the page. So now what I'm looking at on the page is just apt to a product manager from alcohol from the state of California. Now, usually if I were to leave this story and come back in, then the filter selections would be defaulted back at looking at everything on this page. But in order so I can actually store the filter selections I have placed so far, what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to access the bookmark functionality. So we'll want to go over into this display section and access this bookmark icon. From there, we can see that when we go to open the saved bookmarks, in our original story, it's just our original bookmark, and it is created when we save the story. But I'm going to want to bookmark my current state right now. When we open this window, we'll be able to see any bookmarks that we have established or we have been shared with us, but we have none so far in the story. So I'm going to want to create my own. And as Steve had mentioned, bookmarks will only apply to filters, input controls, prompts, Explorer views, and even some variances. So I'm going to want to name this product manager. And the difference between a personal bookmark and a global bookmark is that personal bookmarks will only be visible to you. Why if we make this a global bookmark, that will be shared with everyone who has rights to view this story. So right now, I'm just going to want to make this a personal bookmark, and we'll talk about this set as new default in a little bit. So I'm going to save this new product manager bookmark. And now I can go into open saved bookmarks, and we can see that we have the product manager bookmark. So now I'm going to leave this story and go back in to my home page. We can see that the filter selections are the default filter selections that had when we initially opened the story. But if we want to access that bookmark state with the filter selections that we just have created, we can go to open the saved bookmark and click on the product manager. Now, if we want to bypass this step and make this bookmark our default view, so whenever we enter the story, this will automatically be applied, we have that option. And that is either through when we're initially bookmarking the current state, or we can even just do it from when we have a bookmark that we want to apply. So I'll go to the product manager bookmark, and I'll go to the edit button. And from here, I can set this as our new default, and I'll update the bookmark. Now, whenever I leave the story and come back in, this bookmark will automatically be applied, and these filter selections will automatically apply to the story. So the story is more apt and ready for me as soon as I come in. So I'll leave the story again, and this time I'm going to enter the story, and it should only be filtered on a product manager of alcohol for the state of California. So now we can see that the story is automatically filtered for us for our bookmark selections that we have in the past. And once we open the save bookmarks, we can see that from my bookmarks, the product manager now is the default bookmark. So right now we've only bookmarked for input controls, but what if we are a different scenario, and instead of being a product manager, what if we're a sales manager? So I want to reset the current state back to the original story. And now we'll go from the story from a sales manager. Well, on our first page, we do not have any input controls directly related to sales manager. But if we still wanted to only filter on a sales manager, we can actually implement something called a story filter. The difference between an input control, which you see here, and a story filter, which I'm about to incorporate, is that an input control will only filter on that specific page or tab. So right now, this product input control is only going to filter on this summary page. But when I implement a story filter, that filter will work through every different page or tab that is within this story. So in order to implement a story filter, I'll go over to this tool section and make sure this story filter prompt is selected. From there, we're going to be able to actually add a story filter. From there, this should look pretty similar to adding an input control or a filter, as it's the same process, and we're able to choose which data source we'll want to. Right now, we are in the best run juice model, so this is the model I will want to base my filter off of. So I'll choose the specific dimension, and we said we want to filter from a sales manager perspective this time, so I'll choose the sales manager as my dimension. For this example, I'll be the sales manager of James Frank, and I'll hit OK. From here, we can see now the bookmark has now, or the filter has now been applied to this page, and we can see it dynamically updated. So now we're only getting information from the sales manager, James Frank, and he seems that he's in the Oregon area. As we mentioned, a story filter works on multiple pages. So when we go over to this sales manager overview as well, we'll only see James Frank as our selection. And we can see, just like how before, we're only filtered on Oregon because this is a story filter and it controls the whole story. So now, since I'm a sales manager, I'm James Frank, this is the filter that I'm going to want to have applied going forward. So I'm going to implement another bookmark. So I'm going to, again, go to the bookmark icon and bookmark this current state. From here, this is going to be a sales manager view. So I'll name it my sales manager. And we can see that the bookmark that I have already established, the product manager, is up here, and it just lets us know all the different bookmarks that we have already within the story. This time, I'm going to make this just a global bookmark. And something to note is that in order to make this a global bookmark, you will need to have the edit access to a story. Normally, when you're just applying any bookmark, it can just, you do not have to have edit access, and you can just have view access. But in order to apply a global bookmark, you will need to have edit access, as it will share with anyone who has the rights to view a story. So you're kind of changing the story, which is why you do need edit access. So now that I have the sales manager bookmark, I'll hit save. And then we can see once I go to the bookmark icon and I can open my different bookmarks, we can see that I have a my bookmark, and now we also have a global bookmark. And if I apply the global bookmark, we can see that we're looking at James Frank. Again, right now, my default view is going to be the product manager. So whenever I do leave this story and come back in, we'll be defaulted to that product manager view. We're only filtered on the alcohol and on the state, in the state of California. If I wanted to change this to now only be looking at the James Frank, we can go down to the sales manager bookmark, go into edit mode, and now we can make this our new default. So anytime we come back into the story, this story filter will automatically be applied. So I'll just quickly go back into the story to illustrate this. And we'll see that our story filter now exists, and everything is automatically defaulted to looking at our sales manager view.